Hello, friends. It has been yet another week of social isolation, and I know that's probably taking its toll on a lot of us. I know I'm starting to get restless and wonder, when will this all be over? When will we be able to gather together in person? And yet, I don't have answers to those questions yet. There are more uncertain days ahead, and some of these questions will only be answered with time. So know for now that Pastor Jim and I are paying close attention to the governor and to our bishop for more information. And until we know more, we walk an uncertain road. But we do not walk alone. The risen Christ walks with us. And so will you join me in prayer? God, thank you that you meet us, even on the road to Emmaus, even on the road from where we are now to where we will be in the future as more information about this virus is released. Thank you that every step of the way you join us. Amen. Now, will you join me in singing a couple verses of the hymn? Let's see. 322, Up from the Grave He Arose. Let's sing the first and the third verse. If you have your hymnals, that's 322. Today's scripture reading comes from Luke 24, 13 through 35, and I'll be right back because I forgot to grab my Bible verse, actually. All right, Luke 24, 13 through 35. Now on that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them. But their eyes were kept from recognizing him, and he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" They stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered and said, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place in these days?" He asked them, "What things?" They replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who is a prophet, mighty in deed and in word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the third day since these things have taken place. Moreover, some women in our group astounded us. They were at the tomb this morning, and when they did not find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but we did not see him." Then he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures. As they came near to the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at table with them, he took bread, blessed it, and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were our hearts not burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions together. They were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. I love this story. Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place in these days? And Jesus just plays along. He's almost having fun with these poor people. The things that have taken place in these days. Strange times indeed. Events have taken place in this story that are so cataclysmic, so big, that it seems almost quaint that anyone would want to talk about anything normal. It seems odd to have a conversation that doesn't have the big thing looming in the background. It seems confusing to see people going about as if nothing happened. It seems ridiculous that anyone wouldn't know what was going on, and yet here's this stranger asking, "What are you guys talking about?" This stranger who has to ask about Jesus of Nazareth. These two travelers on the road to Emmaus feel almost insulted. The whole course of their lives has just been thrown off. Their dreams for the future have come crashing down, and to them it seems as if the whole world has ended, and here's this happy-go-lucky stranger coming up to them and asking what's going on. These two travelers don't seem to have known Jesus super well personally. They don't seem to have been close friends, but Jesus' reach went far beyond the 12. These two travelers had gotten caught up in the whirlwind that was Jesus of Nazareth's ministry. They couldn't have helped being drawn in by all that excitement, by the hope that he offered. They just had to go to Jerusalem to see him for themselves, and, well, now it's all over. Now what else is there to do but go back home? "We had hoped," they tell this naive stranger. "We had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. We had hoped that he would save us from Roman oppression, had hoped that our time living under such a cruel empire was near the end. We had hoped. But Rome wins again," they think with a sigh. "Rome wins again, but we had hoped." I hear a lot about dashed hopes these days. We had hoped this virus would blow over in a couple weeks. We had hoped we would be back in church in time for Easter. We had hoped things would return to normal sooner rather than later. About a month ago, I heard this phrase a lot, and I said this phrase a lot. "When things get back to normal, then ... We said it with such optimism and excitement. Hey, when things get back to normal, then we'll do this, as if it was only going to be a few more days. When things get back to normal, I still hear this phrase. But when I hear it now, it sounds a lot more hesitant. When, if things get back to normal. Maybe followed by some nervous laughter or a sad sigh. We say it with almost the same attitude that the travelers to Emmaus had said, but we had hoped. Because the longer this goes on, the clearer it becomes that any normal we return to is going to be a new normal. Something big has happened. Something so big that it has changed everything. This is one of those events that divides our lives into before and after. There are things about life before that might not be here when we get to life after. And we don't know how much damage will be done yet because this is still going on. We don't know how much has been lost because we aren't in the after part. We're stuck here in between. We're stuck waiting and thinking about all those old hopes. So much for those. So this Jesus movement hadn't turned out exactly like these travelers had hoped. They wanted a military victory. They wanted liberation from Rome, and what they got instead was something else. Something seemingly less triumphant. Rumors of an empty tomb, the silly ramblings of women, things heard through the grapevine, but nothing tangible. They said, some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it was just as the woman had said, but they did not see him. In other words, we went to check it out with one last shred of hope, but there was nothing there. It was a waste of time. For them, the empty tomb felt like nothing more than another empty promise. Everything else about their hoped-for future had been stolen away, so might as well steal his body too, right? Ain't that just the way it goes? We had hoped. Serves us right. Easter, after all, did not come with fanfare or trumpets or ticker tape parades. Easter happened quietly. Resurrection happens quietly. Resurrection happens early in the morning when it is still dark and everyone else is sleeping. Jesus doesn't overthrow the Roman Empire. He folds his grave clothes and walks out of a grave to sit in a garden. Leave it to Jesus to make something as big as the resurrection seem so quiet and boring and normal. Healing from this big traumatic event, rising to face another day. Sometimes it seems like it should be a bigger deal. But sometimes when the world comes crashing down all around us, all we can do is wake up in the morning, fold our clothes, and go about our day. Jesus doesn't come out of the tomb with a victory crown. He comes out of the tomb with scars. He doesn't come out of the tomb with an army ready to overthrow Rome. He comes out of the tomb to a scared woman who barely recognizes him through her tears. He comes out of the tomb to the news that his friend Judas didn't survive the big events that have happened. He comes out of the tomb to groups of people who hesitate to believe and who fear to touch. Things are different now. We had hoped, but no, things have changed. It's a new world. The old world, the life before, has quietly slipped away, and now awkwardly, day by day, we wake to a new world forming. A world where our old hopes no longer fit. A world where our old plans are no longer possible. We wake up and we cycle through the stages of grief. Sometimes multiple times a day, we denial, anger, depression, bargaining, acceptance, and then back again as each day brings new losses. We had hoped, but no. And yet something is happening. We are here on the road to Emmaus, on this road in between the old way of life and the new. We're stuck right here on the road in this place of formation, this womb, this cocoon. It's a hard place to be in. It's a vulnerable place. It's a painful place. It's a restless place. It's an exhausting place. I don't know about you, but I never thought sitting at home all day would wear me out so much. All these losses we face, all these fears, all these shattered hopes take tolls on our bodies. All these attempts for those of us who are still working, to do our jobs in a new way or in a scarier world, they wear you out. It's normal. We're not in a place right now where we can pretend life is going on as it used to be. We're not in a place right now where we can pretend that life before is still happening. And we don't have to have the same expectations for ourselves. We don't have to operate as if life is what it used to be. But we also don't have to jump the gun and act like the life after is already here. Because so much is still in flux. There are so many questions that we don't have answers to. It's almost impossible to make plans for the future because you know if you make those plans, they're going to change. We're not in the life after yet. We are stuck in between on this road between old and new. So this is a time for healing. This is a time for mourning. This is a time for rest. This is a time for experimenting and making mistakes. A time to slow down. A time to rage and cry about what we lost, and a time to reflect on what remains. A time to think about what we want to leave behind in the old world and what we want to hold on to for the new one. A time to imagine what new worlds we might create out of the ashes of the old, but not quite yet the time to start picking up the hammer and building that new world. We're on that road to Emmaus. We're not back where we were, and yet we've not yet arrived to where we're going. The good news is we're not alone on this road. We might not recognize where the risen Christ is working in our broken world right now, but do you ever feel your heart strangely warmed? Do you ever maybe have a moment of vision, of clarity, of possibility, of hope? Not the old hope that has been shattered, but a new hope. We're not alone on this road. The risen Christ is walking with us. As we walk on this road, as we're stuck in this in-between place, perhaps the most important thing we can do is take care of those basic needs. One of my former seminary professors posts on Facebook every day little things like breathe, drink lots of water, move your body, pray, forgive. Just these simple reminders that right now, we don't have to rebuild the world. Not yet. The foundations haven't settled. We're not there yet. We're still on the road. And so the best thing you can do right now, today, is take care of yourself, take care of your family, and take care of any strangers that might come into your path. The best thing you can do is those simple things. Share, breathe, feed yourself, take care of yourself. The travelers on the road to Emmaus seem to know this. The most important thing they could do was invite this stranger over to break bread, and share it. We might not be able to invite people over right now, but you get the point. All we can do as we're lost, or as we're stuck in this in-between place with our hopes dashed and our futures uncertain, is sit down and eat and share with a stranger. The risen Christ isn't waiting for us to get to a better place. The risen Christ isn't somewhere out in the future waiting for us to get there after the virus is over. The risen Christ is here on the road with us as we do these simple things to care for ourselves. Scripture said he has been made known to them in the breaking of bread. As we walk this road, as we break bread together, Christ walks with us and will show up. We might miss it sometimes. We might take a long time to recognize it some days. We might miss signs of a new world to come as we mourn the old, clinging to those old dreams, crying, but we had hoped. Asking, when will things get back to normal? We might not see him. We might not recognize him, but the risen Christ is walking this road with us. The risen Christ is revealing himself to us in the breaking of bread. That quiet resurrection that began on Easter Sunday continues each and every morning in the breaking of bread and in the pouring of coffee, in the groceries we drop off on the doorstep of a neighbor who can't get out, in the phone call we make to someone who might be lonely during this time, in the little things we do on this road to Emmaus, on this road to life after the coronavirus. We take things one step at a time, day by day. It's slow going, and we can't always see the road ahead, but we will get there. There will be life after the coronavirus. And until then, Christ walks with us and makes himself known to us in the breaking of bread. Until then, we are not alone. Will you take this time to lift up any prayer requests you might have, and I will play a hymn. If you'd like to sing along, it's hymn number 618, and that's Let Us Break Bread Together. If you know the song, feel free to sing along or simply take this time to pray. Go in peace, walking on this uncertain road to Emmaus, meeting the risen Christ in the breaking of bread. Until we meet again and things get back to normal, go in peace.